Hello and welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm, brought to you by funkandstuff.net. This is the interview show that gets deep into the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. Available in video format at funkandstuff.net and on YouTube, Truth and Rhythm can now also be enjoyed on the go in its audio podcast edition from funkandstuff.net, iTunes, and other leading providers. I'm your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine, musicologist and author of Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk. Get your copy at Amazon. Whether you're listening or watching, I thank you very much for your interest and support. And you've tuned in for a good one this time. Because my guest today, you can maybe hear him rumbling in the background, are none other than guitarist, vocalist Howard Scott, drummer Harold Brown, and harmonica player Lee Oskar, all original founding members of War, one of the most important and successful funk-R&B bands of all time. In recent years, they've performed together as the LowRider Band. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Doing good. It's our pleasure, sir.
Thanks for using this wonderful technology and saving plane flights, and we all here. Talk.
Excellent. Actually, coming all the way from Seattle to Charlotte today.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, they say wherever two or more of us are gathered, here's the funk.
I can feel it, no doubt. Before we get into some questions, I want to share with the viewers more about your amazing career. So here we go. Along with keyboardist, vocalist Lonnie Jordan, saxophonist Charles Miller, bassist B.B. Dickerson, percussionist Papa Dee Allen, War emerged from Los Angeles, my hometown, to begin life in 1969 as former Animals lead singer Eric Burdon's backup band. During the relatively brief time together, they notched a major hit and Spill the Wine. With a unique and immediately identifiable sound marked by deep funk grooves, heavy percussion, Latin rhythms, sax-harmonica horn section, group vocals, and unifying messages, War struck out on their own in 1971. Along with producer Jerry Goldstein, they would go on during the 1970s to release a run of hit multi-million-selling albums and singles. Their third album, The World is a Ghetto, was popular music's best-selling album of 1973. In addition to that album's title song, other key tracks by the band included All Day Music, Get Down, Slippin' in the Darkness, The Cisco Kid, which is the one that got me into the band when I was, I think, 12 years old or so.
You're a baby.
Wow. Where Was You At, Gypsy Man, Me and Baby Brother, Why Can't We Be Friends, LowRider, Heartbeat, which from my mind could be their funkiest track of all, Summer, and Galaxy. Wow. It's important to note that most of these were not just R&B hits, but also pop hits. War rivaled or surpassed contemporaries such as the Isley Brothers, Earth, Wind & Fire, Kool and the Gang, and the Ohio Players, among others. They rivaled or surpassed them. So coming up, we'll find out how War got its start and developed its innovative style, go behind the scenes of classic songs and albums, discover what life was like during the band's peak, discuss the group's decline in turbulent 1980s, and talk about later works and reunion efforts, and then wrap it up with where things are today. So, with that lead-in, guys, are you ready to take on some questions?
Whew. Oh, man. It wasn't me. No.
Yeah, so as you're looking, we got Harold on the right, Howard in the middle, and Lee on the left. And for those of you that are listening, you'll just have to get used to their voices.
All right.
So, guys, let's start way back. Way back. Harold was just saying he's back in Long Beach, so we're going to go way back. Talk about Los Angeles a little bit, growing up there and Compton, and, you know, of which, as we were talking about, I'm quite familiar with being from there. But that's where Howard and Harold come from. Then we'll talk about Lee's early years too. But, you know, what was life like growing up there? How did you get into music? And what were some of your early inspirations?
Let me take this. When we first started playing music, my cousin from San Antonio, Texas, if it wasn't for Jack Nelson Jr. coming to Los Angeles with his Les Paul Jr. guitar, who taught myself and B.B. Dickerson how to both play bass. I don't know if we've been playing War or I would have met Harold or Lee. But it started back then when Jack Nelson planted those seeds, and we started playing in the clubs out in San Pedro, California, where I met Harold Brown playing in some of the funky clubs out there.
Did we lose you?
And Johnny Otis, he'd be around him. And I remember Big Mama Thornton.
Did we lose it?
I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
I still got you. We're
Yeah,
still good.
He still got us. It just
Yeah.
popped.
Oh yeah, so where are we at?
We was talking about where you come
Yeah,
from. You
yeah,
said San
we
Pedro.
were playing out in those clubs in San Pedro, which are primarily blues clubs. So myself and Harold both cut our teeth on playing the blues, which is like when the blues is coming out, you know, just transitioning to another form of music. We were coming in, so we were primed to like start our own brand of music at that time.
Yeah, because see, like over in San Pedro at that time, there was a lot of brothels in almost every corner, even in Long Beach. It's not like it is today. I mean, like it is today. Looked like there was a bar and a band every other street, or music coming out of a church.
Yeah.
I remember like it was Johnny Otis. Da, 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 da. So our Calave.
Willie and the Hand Job.
Yeah, right. And then there was Big Mama Thornton. We was over there. I was with Big Mama Thornton the night that Johnny Apos got shot dead. I heard from Taj Mahal that she probably, because I know she had that 22 pistol in her
I ain't saying none of that. Look.
We met Sam Cooke. We met Sam Cooke at Moore's Swing Club on South Main Street. I mean, we were like right in there. What was it? I'm leaving it all up to you. What was it?
Look,
Oh,
we're just
yeah.
trying to say we were one of the prime bands in Los Angeles, California coming up. We had the whole South Side hooked up. So when we got into playing this club in North Hollywood called a Ragdoll, we were playing behind NFL star number 75, David Deacon Jones. We were like smoking that place. And that's where all the stuff started. When we got into that club right there, Eric Burdon walks in with Lee Oskar, Jerry Goldstein, and Steve Gold. And this is the powerhouse team that formed the band. What, Lee?
W-118.
What was it called?
We called it war. No, you know the night
We were
shift.
night shift. They formed into a war right after that night.
But you remember R.B. Greaves was there too.
Yeah, but yeah,
And he came up later, knocked 3 times, sent a letter to
Yeah.
Maria. And then the girls that was backing us up wound up singing behind Dr. John's first album.
the Burettes.
Right.
So we were a pretty popular LA band, and we ran into the Lee Oskar, Eric Burdon, who needed a band at that time. And when they came to see us at the Ragdoll, we were primed and ready to like take that next step into like being the band behind Eric Burdon.
But so there's something really important that we're jumping over too quick. Well, Howard, we were the first black band booked on the Sunset Strip. We went and joined Local 47 in 1964.
47.
Yeah, I was trying to say, yeah. 1964, and it was Vince DeBerry was the casual person, and he worked with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz and Bob Eubanks. So we started opening up, we started playing CC, Cinema, Sander, and all the teen fairs. We were playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go. We was opening up for Ike and Tina Turner. We was opening up for a lot of people. And then all of a sudden, we had this date that we're going to be booked on the Sunset in Las Vegas. I'll never forget that. And they were going to pay us $500 each a week. And all of a sudden, Howard got drafted into the Army.
They didn't draft me. I got kidnapped.
Well, kidnapped. And Bobby Nicholson, our trumpet player at the time, he got drafted. I said, oh, no. So then when Howard went through all that, you know, and everything, and came back out to service, him and I looked at each other and we said, let's try it one more time. If we don't succeed this next time we try, then we'll just go into doing it, because Howard was into the medical field. Me, I was a Class A machinist and so forth. So let's go one more time. And that one more time, that's when we started putting everybody, collecting everybody back together. And then Lee, he was going at that same time period that we're talking about in the early, you know, in the late 60s. Lee was on a journey. I mean, it's incredible what he went through. because
Well, before Lee chimes into that, just so Howard and Harold, were you guys pretty much self-taught on your instruments? Is that how it came to be?
Well, Jack Nielsen was teaching you.
Yeah, I learned how to play bass first, and myself and BB were both playing bass together. And I could play with Harold. I could play bass with Harold, but I couldn't play with myself and BB. We could never play together. So I had to kind of like switch over to guitar so I could play with my nephew. So you know, that kind of helped me a little bit.
And then myself,
just a little now.
Yeah. And myself as a drummer, I was emulating. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in E. You know, that symbol, you know, that clave vibe. And then we used to like Bobby Blue Band, woke up this morning, those boleros. So where we came from, you know, out of Southern California, we, you know, were influenced by a lot of Latin music that was coming on. Like my boy grew up there in Tijuana, was Carlos Santana. I mean, we used to play like in a lot of clubs, and we'd be playing behind these shake dancers or strip dancers. Kink, kakum, kinky, kaka, kink. So our mind was always thinking on a Latin funk, blues kind of thing. And that's how we developed.
And then Lee, you came from Denmark and migrated to the U.S. I'm not sure how old you were. Why don't you tell me how you got into music, the harmonica, and what brought you to America?
Well, music, starting with that, I got my first harmonica in 1954 when I was 6 years old. That was the end thing that summer in our neighborhood in Copenhagen. And you know, I tell a story. Next year was the hula hoop. Next year was the yo-yo. But I fell in love with the harmonica. And an American came to visit my family and I, and he brought the harmonica. I guess he knew that was the end thing. And it was always with me. Just to mention, of course, I was not a good student in school. 0 in music.
That's hard to believe.
0 in English. I speak English because you know, we all connect different ways, and the way I connect with music was maybe a way of saying it was very spiritual. It was not academic. I'm more of an artist, I think, than a musician. I would not make a living if I was a studio musician. I would probably not even, it would not even be in me to play whatever somebody wanted me to play. It's always been whatever's inside myself. And moving forward, America was like a promised land in the music industry. It was like bigger than life. Back then, there was no industry even have the notion of being in a record deal or anything. It was United States or the UK. Moving forward, when I was in America, the United States, it was pretty tough. You know, I mean, very ambitious.
Didn't you come over on a cattle ship?
On the cattle ship, that's what he says, man. Passenger ship, yeah. The ship. Back then, ships were for transportation. Now it's airplanes. So, but the point that I really want to get to is that I had such a desire, ambition to want to make it, that there was nothing I was leaving behind in any way that was like a compromise. It was totally a destiny to want to make it in the music business. And yeah, it was tough on the streets and all that, but it wasn't tough in the sense that I had a direction. I know what I wanted. You know, it wasn't like I was a lost person and people standing on the same street corner peddling. Moving forward, when I met Eric Burdon, who was like in LA, that would be a club where they let me in for free, where they used to have jams called The Experience. There was another club, Whiskey a Go, Alma and Mario. They would let me in for free because I had already got to know them through Hugh Masekela when I came to LA, and then when I would go and jam at Experience at that club, Marshall Brevitz was the owner. Eric Burdon would come in, and there was Blues Image, which was the band that came out of Florida, friends of the owner, Marshall Brevitz. And I used to sit there and jam with Mike Panera and their band and Eric. And that's how Eric and I got to know each other. At the same time, I was trying to get a record deal. I went to A&M Records thinking the receptionist was the record company. And I had the nerve to ask for $400, which was, I thought, a lot of money. And she got the guy, the security, get this hippie out of here. Moving forward, I had this band I tried to put together in LA. I met at this rehearsal hall. And so we did this audition in the Valley where I was going to be singing and play harmonica with this band. And it was like a delicatessen. There's like 10 bands and standing in line with a number to play for free. And maybe 5 gets a chance, and the rest of them is too late. So, I mean, I would pay to play, right? And Chris Huston, who was the engineer, who became an engineer later for War, at that club where we're doing an audition, I met him, gives me a card, and says, I have a studio. Why don't you come to my studio? So I went there thinking I can do a demo in the studio, and then I can take it back to A&M Records and prove that I have something worthwhile, maybe. When I got to Chris Huston's studio, he told me I can't let you use my studio unless you sign a deal with me. So I said, no, of course. That was devastating, and I was depressed, sitting in the hall, not knowing what I'm going to do next. And then this guy comes out of the studio, and it was Jerry Goldstein, with a Coleman piece of paper, pretending it's a harmonica, and yelling at him, how do you get a harmonica player? I still was so depressed, I didn't even say I played harmonica. And they said, Mr. Goldstein, we have somebody. And this kid came running up the stairs and went in seconds later. I guess he didn't sound good. He went back out of the studio. And then Jerry did his thing again. I said, I play harmonica, and had one harmonica to my name, and put me in the studio headphones. I played starting in 5th gear because I was so freaking excited to play. It was in key of C, and it had an F harp. It was like perfect. It was like. So he gave me $10, and I took $5 and gave it to that band that was in audition because I felt guilty taking no money. Took the other $5 and went out and had a pizza. Couldn't afford to pay. The pizza was small, so the person that was with me put the rest of the money down. I put my harmonica down and said, "That's it. It's a tip, like anybody would want a funky harmonica."
But cheese.
And then I managed to get some more harmonicas. Somebody gave me or something, and then I went back to the experience and jammed some more. And then Eric said, "I want to start a band," and so we met Phil Spector. And when I went to Phil Spector with Eric, and I was in awe because, hey, I got Eric Burdon, I got Phil Spector, man. But Phil Spector, you couldn't see his face. We were sitting there with the sun on us, and the window is behind Phil Spector, like all you see is a silhouette. I mean, it was very intimidating. But Eric wanted to be in business, I think. And so he wanted to go with Steve Gold and Jerry Goldstein. We had Visual Thing, a poster company. And I was going to go wherever Eric was, and I'm fine. This is like, I'm in awe. I'm making my destiny come true. And so we went to a club that we were told, Peter Rosen was the bass player. Right. He worked for Jerry and Steve in Visual Thing, the poster company. He was playing bass. And he had told about this band that's playing in North Hollywood.
The Night Shift.
The Night Shift.
What did he say about the Night Shift?
Nothing except, no, I mean, I didn't hear nothing. I just heard Eric say, come on with me. We're going to go down to this club and check out this band. By the way, the band, what was the band that came out of Florida? I just blanked out. Blues Image. Eric wanted that to be the backup band, and we played one thing, but then they got a deal with Attica Records and Ride Captain Ride. They did that, got that hit. So when I went along with Eric, and we went to the Ragdoll, there was this football player, I guess, Deacon Jones, I don't know who he is, doing a one-arm push-up, singing, I love you, baby.
I Love It in a Pro was the name of the song.
And it's kind of strange. And when he took his break, for his debut singing, I guess, the backup band was Night Shift. I jumped on stage and sat in and played some harmonica with them. And that was the lucky moment. Where
that was the moment.
It wasn't that he jumped on stage. We were up there playing, and we saw this kid coming in with,
I thought it was Eric
with
Burdon.
his leather coat on. And he had a harmonica belt.
And
I said, here comes Eric Burdon, you know. And it was Lee. And he was, like I said, my father was a real harmonica blues type guy. But so when Lee got up and started playing on harmonica, I was right into that right there because I love harmonica playing. And he could play. So we
because Howard's daddy used to sit up on School Street on the porch in his old chair, and he'd be playing harmonica.
We had a good time jamming with Lee, and I guess what happened afterwards was, you know, they had a meeting with Lee and Jerry and Steve and Eric. And, but not when, not by that was.
No, it was right after I sat in with you guys.
Yeah.
It was like the next day, we all, the nucleus of your band.
Yeah,
So
that Monday.
Went to this address where I went to. It was sitting around the swimming pool.
Yeah.
In Hollywood.
It was in Westwood.
You said it was Westwood.
Yeah.
I think it's Hollywood.
Right there on Cannon Drive.
But wherever it was,
Cannon Drive.
we sat around the swimming pool, and that's when we came up with the name War. And I remember how it came up, my version of it.
Okay. Well, I just remember, because see, that's where I got the blessing. Because I'm still living in the same areas and cruising the same streets where everything came together. So I get to go back through those areas and I can see like Compton or San Pedro or Ventura Boulevard where the Rag Dog was, or going back through Westwood or off of Santa Monica and Wilshire. That's unique, and I get sometimes I get tears of joy, and sometimes I can still see them ghosts.
Hey, you know, like even mentioning about like later on when there was Foul Productions on Sunset Boulevard, right?
Right.
Okay, so I had this story to share. Like, so we had there was a hamburger joint right next to us.
Joe's,
and it was Joe Burger. And Joe Burger, we would eat every day, and there was not much going on in that on Sunset Boulevard where we were, because that was far from Sunset Strip. We were farther east. But based on our reputation as War, and people start coming to the hamburger, stand and Joe Burgers every day. We never were on the other side of the street except Howard. He would be going to Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
You'd be going across there, but that was like the other side. We never went there. You went there, okay? Now, so we did The World Is a Ghetto album, and I was so proud because I had put Joe Burger in that album cover with us standing there and all that. It was like like an improvisation on the neighborhood. Of course, the buildings would look different, but we all seven in there, and it says Joe Burger and that. And then I went to Joe, a perma-plaque of the album cover, and I gave it to him, but I never saw it up. Some people told me they saw it up, but I never saw it up.
You put it up, yeah.
Well, I never saw it, and it was like moving forward. Now, years later, I come out with manufacturing harmonicas in 1983, and my first deal was with Guitar Center.
You're right across the street.
And the Guitar Center was one store across the street from 7417 Sunset Boulevard, which was our building back then. And across the street was a Guitar Center, and their main office was in the Valley. So after they made the deal in the Valley, I go in to see the manager of the store. And when I step back out, I look across to reminisce, and I see it says Sunset Grill. I said, when did he change it from Joe Burger to Sunset Grill? And I almost got literally run over by cars in Sunset Boulevard because there's no cross right there. And halfway across, coming back on the same side where I'm familiar with, I don't even see the marquee anymore. I walked up to Joe, and Joe says, how are you? I said, I'm good, but when did you change it to Sunset Grill? He couldn't even answer. He didn't know what I was talking about. So what I found out is that all these years, we made that place famous, Joe Burger.
Right.
But even the Eagles came out of tune based on what we made a reputation called down at Sunset Grill. It was always called Sunset Grill. Had I known that, I would have put Sunset Grill in the
The Eagles wouldn't have had that song.
they would have called it
Joe Burger.
Down at Joe Burger. So then moving forward, so Harold and I went to reminisce because Guitar Center bought
that
whole building. That's the flagship store now. Well, that was our facility. So we went there a few years ago just to check things out. Joe Burger is like a fancy, like 2-floor thing.
Right.
No pictures of us, all these other celebrities. All these people have no ideas about us.
Right.
Then we went back in the parking lot of Guitar Center, where there was all our parking. That's where all our
That's
cars
where
used
we
to be
parked.
parked.
Had that old trailer back there.
And Jerry Fisher was the controller back there. And we look at it, and we see a little bit of reminiscence of that they still hadn't finished painting of where we used to park, or I used to park.
Right.
And then I said to Harold, I said, I think we are like the Lawrence Welk. It's like, it's funny how, like, here's another generation of people going to the Guitar Center, and they all have a Joe Burger, and they have no idea who we are and the history of that. And before us, it was Charlie Chaplin, right?
Oh, yeah, Charlie Chaplin. But there's a lot of stuff, that we were very fortunate that time period. When we came through there, Hollywood was changing, was just shifting from, like the old standard, blues people, like Ike and Tina Turner or the OJs, or, and what was the brothers? The guys that sung Unchained Melody.
Righteous Brothers.
The Righteous Brothers.
Yeah.
Because they would be all through there. Yeah, the Righteous Brothers. And then we were right there, and that music was changing, and Hollywood was getting ready to go into another revolution, because all of a sudden we had, going into the Vietnam War. All of a sudden the hippies and stuff had been rioting and stuff different times. We've been through the Watts riot. I mean, Hollywood was changing, was shifting at that moment.
Yeah, the Watts thing, man, that was a big deal.
Oh yeah. We were coming from Bob Eubank's place that night, the Cinnamon Center in North Hollywood. And Moses and them, and I drive my 56 Chevy, had bucket seats in it. We always made our lowriders back then. And I remember pulling off on Imperial, and next thing I knew, we were right in the middle of the Watts riot. And we had to keep driving, seeing bricks flying, and cars on the side and stuff. So our music and stuff at that time, we were very aware, because by Howard coming up the way he did, around, Compton, San Pedro, there were a lot of blues stuff. Myself, I came up around like Long Beach and, San Pedro and stuff. And like we South Los Angeles with Big Mama Thornton people. And then we started learning certain kind of ways to play. Yeah. And the shuffles, that's what brought Eric Burdon towards us. Because I started having a reputation of having one of the best double shuffles around. I learned them in those blues clubs from the old blues guys. Tap, 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 that double shuffle. So that's how we learned, and it worked. It just worked. It was right for us.
Well, we just covered so much ground. I appreciate the discussion, because you're hitting a lot of questions I had just in talking. But
You got it.
if you love that Guitar Center
Can
I used to go there quite a bit when I was out there, but it's changed so much out there. I mean, I really miss things like Tower Records and the whole landscape out there changing quite a bit in the Hollywood Sunset area. But you guys were just about to reveal how the name came about for War. So before we move on, you got to finish, how you came up with the name.
Why don't you go, Lee?
Well, we probably all have a different story. The way I remember it, we were sitting around a swimming pool talking about names, and Steve Gold mentioned the band Joy Gray and Pollution, or what's the name of the band? Pollution and Dobie Gray. I
remember Dobie Gray.
Yeah, so Dobie Gray and his backup band, they called it Pollution.
Yeah.
So they were looking for something like being, something controversial and all that. And at that time, philosophically, I said, everybody walks around in peace.
Right.
Everybody's walking around saying, peace, peace, brother, love, peace, and all that. And I made a comment about that the creative part in any of us is not, if we were totally in peace, then there would be no creativity at all. So the part of us that gets the creative part of us is the war that we have within ourselves. And I said that, and then Steve Gold, that's what we should go to war, you know, because you were talking about velvet oven and
yeah, he wanted to call us a velvet oven. but as I recall, he has a good another story. As I recall, my name came up. I said, "What's your name?" It's HOWAR. They said, "How war? What? Let's use your middle." No, it's a joke. No, he's right.
No, but then I heard it this way. Now
it wasn't like that, not the WAR part.
No, but see, the first time I heard it, we was on Cannon Drive. There was a car rental place and a printer. I guess they had the office right, there. So we're sitting there, and in that setting there was Sylvester Papa Dee Allen, Lee, Howard, Charles Miller. Wasn't BB, it was the other bass player we had. Peter Rosen, myself, Lonnie Jordan, Jerry Goldstein, Steve Gold, Eric Burdon, might be leaving someone. And I remember because the way we dressed, coming out from the neighborhood, Steve, you guys look like you just came out of a war. Why would they do war? That's all and then that's where I heard it. Then we started talking about he used the analogy of a Sputnik at the time. What they used to do, they were going to use Eric Burdon as a rocket ship, and then they were going to put us on top like a shuttle, then they were going to shoot us in outer space using Eric Burdon, like Eric Burdon declares war, and then once we had those hits, and then release us on our own, and then we become our own entity.
You must have.
That was really far sighted.
That was Eric laid on, and he had this conversation here with Jimi Hendrix. I was right there.
Woo! I wasn't there.
No. He had conversations about the moon could be the satellite, and having a radio station so you could broadcast the music to anywhere on Earth.
Okay.
That's what he used to talk about all the time.
Yeah, but that's what I heard out of.
But the name War was when we sat around the pool.
Yeah.
And he was looking at velvet oven because
terrible name for us.
Yeah, like an oven where you put something really controversial so to shock people. And I didn't say let's name it war. I talked about the creative, and then that's when he pulled out that name. Said, "What should be war?" And even later on, when you had Bobby Womack came out with Bobby Womack and Peace, he called it Peace like this. And Steve Gold was very clever. He said he should have called it like piece of something. I want like a piece of something. But moving even to another thing is like when we did Why Can't Be Friends album,
right?
And I had the cover. The same guy used Howard Miller. I did Wilderness of Ghetto album cover. Had his illustration, his style. I had Why Can't Be Friends, and I had this face that I had him draw. I draw rough things, and he drew it. So we got just the right face that would be like this. I was this shitty ass smile. I'm sorry if I'm cussing it, but this shitty grin.
We just call it a shit grin.
Yeah, a shit grin.
Shit eating grin.
Yeah. And the album was because the album was going to be called Smile Happy. That's what we were going to name the album. So after we named it that, and I had the illustration done and all that, they decided for crossover. In pop and all that, Why Can't We Friends has that vibe that they were trying to push. So we're going to call it Why Can't We Friends. And on that face, I had a gold tooth with a diamond. So then Steve Gold decided to put a gold tooth. Yeah, he put a gold tooth on there and a diamond. And everybody thought to this day that was a picture of Steve Gold. It was Steve Gold copying that image that I created.
But it looks like Steve.
It does, doesn't it?
And even the laugh that we did in our video.
So there's a little bit of some more trivial insight.
All right, well, I'll start talking about some of the music specifically. So here's one of those Eric Burdon albums, first one, I believe. Can you guys just talk a little bit about like what that particular phase was like for you when you first got going with Eric Burdon before you went off on your own? There are a couple of memories from that experience.
Before we did that CD right there.
CD.
Album. Excuse me, album. Before we did that album, we were rehearsing in Long Beach, California, and, you know, just to get the band together. So we spent a lot of time rehearsing. And Eric would come. Eric and Lee would drive from Hollywood all the way out to Long Beach, Charles Miller's place in Long Beach, and we rehearsed, constantly getting these songs together, getting the song Mother Earth together. We started getting into this whole thing of being a jam band.
Let me interject something. Snoop Dogg used to come there and listen to us rehearse on his bicycle. All right, keep going.
All right, but we were paid at that time because I wanted to stay with Deacon Jones before we came over to Eric. But they paid us $200 a week at that time to rehearse with Eric Burdon, which was a lot of money, and it was a great investment because we came up with all those songs. Mother Earth was something that Eric did. The Spill the Wine, Lee can tell you about that one. Spill the Wine. Tobacco Road was something that, you know, there was John D. Laudermick's song, and Rassan Roland Kirk. We did all those concept songs out there in Long Beach and brought them back to the studio.
Yeah, because what Eric used to do with us when we first got with him, before we even started rehearsing, up in Laurel Canyon, he would have us come up there and set, and just, he would play us all these different albums of different blues artists or different people to listen to. Because I think what he was trying to do is just get us to start thinking about how he was thinking and what he was inundated with and what he was listening to. And we started listening to a lot of different music.
Yeah, you know, that's funny. I know was not, he used to just play stuff in his house to me.
Yeah.
You know, different stuff that I got introduced to. And he would send me down Long Beach and say, because he bought my bullshit that I knew how to read and write. Back then I didn't know how to read. I could hear everything, but I couldn't write it down. So I was sent down there. I want them to learn this tune or that tune and give you the arrangements.
And make sure they do it right.
And then when I came down there, Papa Dee Allen would say, Lee, just, he wouldn't say shut up. He would say, poop. No, he would say,
poop in mouth.
Yes, you stop your poop mouth and just play.
He wouldn't cuss. He would say, you got dandruff in your hair.
So it was like, I was like going back, but Eric never came down to Long Beach rehearsal.
He did.
You got a garage for rehearsal?
Yeah, he didn't come down there a lot. He's been there. He was
just a few times.
Yeah.
That was my duty to go down every day. But we were a jam band, and we used to make shit up all the time because Eric would make stuff up.
Right.
He would start before we even had a record out, before we had any hits. He would say something like, okay, I'm the pilot and you the co-pilot, or we're gonna go and do this and that. And he have a poem he would read, or he would start something, and we just start grooving behind. And that's how and that liberated me personally because it was a natural step that to allow me to be in the moment and play as I feel in a moment, rather than being something that had to be spelled out. There was one time Harold, they were fixated in playing this one fill. And Harold, I'll speak. He's like me. I mean, I can play it if it's natural, but the minute I gotta think, I'll fumble. And he's doing, no, it's not that da, it's that da da. You know, we got it now. We're not studio musicians. And the minute someone's trying to be too
contrived, too, you know, rather than letting the magic, we ain't the band. You know, if you want to see the greatest band in the world, I mean, like, it's a dream come true. Like most people would love to have. It's the chemistry we have when we just in the moment, not trying to think. Or that's why we never get tired playing even the same tunes. My music director picks the same freaking 7 tunes in the show. 13 tunes. But he has a way of changing it all and all that. But every time I play, whether it's Friends, Worlds Together, or Cisco Kid, or whatever I play, it's in the moment. So it never feels like, man, I'm tired of this shit, I want to move on. It's always magic when we play together. Yeah, but see, that was the thing that made us unique. And we made all those hits we made. Because I remember when we did Why Can't We Be Friends? I was listening to reggae music.
Bob Marley.
Bob Marley. And I was trying to emulate what I conceived as reggae, that one drop. So when we got in there, I didn't play it exactly the way some, real Rasta would. Yeah. I played it the way I felt that it should be. And then even when Lonnie, God bless him, even when Lonnie got there and made that ding, 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 click, clink, clink, it was a mistake. And that mistake has become, part of the music. Yeah. Like even like LowRider, when you stop, but like LowRider. When we did LowRider and Charles was up there, all my friends, I was on an upbeat. Boom, bop, 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 like a ska. I was on the up. And most guys, they even see that emulated today, they play down on the downbeat like it's right. LowRider, I was on the up and I said, don't panic. Hey, don't panic. Stay there.
Let me just say something. I got to. Yeah. When we did the first Eric Burdon Declares War album, which was like had Spill the Wine on it, we had a hit of that Spill the Wine. And that we were touring, and we became one of the finest rock and roll bands ever with Eric Burdon and War. We put out the Black Man's Burden album behind it. We had some great arrangements, like Day in a Life, Tobacco Road, and that album right there, to me, was one of the finest rock and roll albums ever to be produced. And we had a rock and roll band out there playing behind Eric Burdon, tearing up the world. Nobody could touch the band Eric Burdon and War. And from my point of view, some of the most underrated music that's out there today was what we did with Eric Burdon and War.
But you know what? He may call it rock and roll.
Funk and roll.
Well, whatever you want to call it, categories is really only for marketing people and librarians. Okay, so forget the categories. We did music that I mean, look, we had you mentioned Tower Records. Here's a perfect example of how dumb, how stupid the industry is, in my opinion. Stupid. Because categories, it can be a conflict to a lot of things in good business. Here's an example. Somebody walks into Tower Records, and there's all these categories. Oh, opera, yeah, classical, man, oh, I love pop, So now we had a tune like World is a Ghetto. World is a Ghetto was on the main rotation in 3 different formats: on the jazz station, on the R&B station, and on the pop station. But if I asked somebody and they would say, man, the greatest, I hate jazz, I hate R&B, I love pop, and you should hear this cool tune called World is a Ghetto. And then the next person will say, man, I don't like pop, or I don't like jazz, the greatest R&B is World is a Ghetto. And a jazz guy said, man, the greatest jazz man today is listen to this stuff, man. It's called World is a Ghetto. I can't stand R&B and pop. So whatever categories is used for, it defeats when somebody walks into a place and people buy an impulse. And so the amount of people that made our success of being on a rotation were a lot more people than actually end up buying the album. Because when they went in Tower Records and it's put on the black or R&B, that's when you would find it. If you don't find it on pop, you didn't find it in jazz. If they've been smart, out of every 10 albums, because of proving those formats and radio stations, out of every 10 albums, put 5 in pop, or maybe 6 in pop, put 3 in R&B, and 1 in jazz, whatever it is. In other words, so when we talk about music, it's always been music. When you talk about an industry, there's a lot of mediocrity, a lot of stupidity, and I'm just, and it's how do I put it? It's upsetting when mediocrity leans so much and educated so much on what kind of music do you play. I mean, we did a rehearsal once, not a rehearsal, a sound check in Midwest somewhere, and these guys came in, he said, my God, you guys playing the band tonight? And I said, yeah. You guys do square dance music? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And they came down and I do square dance to Cisco Kid. Why not? It's 2/4, 4/4, And they came out, my God, it's the best square dance music we ever heard.
Look at that, they can zydeco too.
So there's a lot of things I can express, but I hope that makes sense.
When I'm going back to that, when I say rock and roll band, the field we were in, the shows we were playing, the kind of people that were coming to see us.
That's Eric Burdon.
That's Eric Burdon.
Because he's his name.
And yeah, but just the backup band behind Eric Burdon like I said, some of the finest music that, in my opinion, not Lee or Harold, in my opinion, some of the finest music that we created at that time was probably on the Black Man Burdon's album. And it goes like way underneath the radar because people really didn't catch on to that album like that.
And also, that's why we played Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club. Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London was known as a hardcore jazz club. Coltrane, Zuzim, you named the hardcore jazz players, and that was it. They would sneer, they would never even allow what they would call rock and roll in them. But because of Eric Burdon's name, he was like a Mick Jagger as a status back then, and because of the way we were, the reputation we got as players, we could be called jazz at the same time. And when we drew more people than they ever seen, and all of a sudden the club owner who was like pure jazz says, "Man, in the Melody Maker magazine, the best live band we ever heard." Everybody was happy. The cash register was going and all that. So we've been in platforms, whether it's country, jazz, blues, I don't care what it is.
Or even Latin.
Latin. It's
Afro-Cuban Latin music.
We do a lot of stuff that's influenced from Latin. Yeah.
Well, I think you touched on a lot of key points there that make you so unique, and this free form openness to breaking through all the different genres and not worrying if something is so orthodox by the rules, but if there's a mistake, it was with the feel of the time and the moment, and you let it through, and that's what fans can feel and love about it.
Can I just say one thing? I want you to know.
Absolutely.
This is my opportunity to mention. There was a very, very clever way. Steve Gold was brilliant. I'm talking about Steve, not Jerry Goldstein. Steve Gold. He was brilliant with wording. And on the first album you pointed, Eric Burdon Declares War. Eric Burdon was on MGM Records, still tied in from the Animals, still under contract under Mike Herb. And the band, We Were War, the idea was that through his name that, launched us as a backup band, we would be independently also then start building the branding as War. That was the whole concept. When Eric was stuck with Mike Herb at MGM Records, Steve Gold called it Eric Burdon Declares War. It was a way to announce the band. Yeah. And Mike Herb assumed he had the band too.
Right.
But he didn't. And that's when they made a deal with Mike Stewart at United Artists Records. And Mike Stewart wanted to make sure that he had the 7 guys that we were as War, that he was guaranteed that we had the same guys that Mike Herb assumed he had. So that was clever. Then the second album, how I was talking about, is Black Man's Burden, is another way of saying the Black Man's, like Burdon is actually Eric Burdon's last name, Burdon. It was just, and that was on MGM Records too, and that was based on, because Eric was trying to get out a deal, and it's like slavery, or it's unfair that he's being held to this. And third point, Spill the Wine, because it was Eric Burdon and War, and it was on MGM Records. MGM Records would have the rights to the publishing of anything Eric wrote based on the Animals deal. However, when Eric Burdon wanted to be partners with Steve and Jerry, and they had Forward Music Publishing, he gave up. He didn't take credit for writing any of Spill the Wine. In other words, the lyrics he wrote, we wrote the music. But he didn't take claim for writing the lyrics, anything. So that way the publishing would be under Forward Music instead of going to MGM Records. I always think that's an amazing story.